What is going on YouTube? My name is Lucas, and today we are going to be talking about Chargepoint, or also known as currently Switchback Energy. And the reason is because it's a SPAC. I think that this is a huge stock, and I'm going to tell you why right after this. Before we charge up into this video, I ask that you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, comment down below, and now it's time to get into the video. This is most definitely an anticipated stock, and or I guess you could say currently, a SPAC. You know, I started doing some live streams on YouTube, which are a blast. And if you get a chance, swing by and check it out the next time I do one. It is a ton of fun, and the interactions amongst me and the subscribers, or me and just the people swinging by, is absolutely phenomenal, and it is a ton of fun. But in that live stream, this is one of the stocks that a lot of people were requested. It was obviously Chargepoint, also known as Switchback Energy, because it's a SPAC right now. It hasn't converted yet. And I started doing my own research on this. I've done a couple videos before on Blink, and I do think that now that the EV market is really heavily impacted and really kind of saturated the stock market amongst, YouTubers and things like that, I think now we got to start looking at what's going to fuel these vehicles, what's going to fuel all these EVs we've been talking about. So now I think you're going to start to see a lot more charging stations and a lot more charging aspects come out into, the stock market. And this is a good one. I mean, it really is. Doing the research on it and kind of diving in and seeing, who's backing it and how long it's been around and things like that. I do think that this is definitely going to be a stock that's worth keeping track of. And if you, are obviously interested, one that's going to be worth, investing in. Before I dive into providing you the news on this SPAC, I really want to provide two aspects that I think are very important when it comes to charging stations. And I do really think they're important. And the reason is number one, I think accessibility. I think it as a charging station, charging port company, if you can readily make your charging station available across the city, I think that is very key. And the reason I say it is just because charging stations are going to be needed. A lot of people, even if you look at it now, gas vehicles are fueled up outside of their homes. Obviously, you can charge your vehicle at home, but a lot of people are going to be looking for access points outside of their home, whether they're at work, whether they're at a grocery store, whether they're at, wherever they may be. It's going to be accessible. So if I'm a charging station company, if I can easily start making partnerships, getting good with companies, building a huge network, and be able to get my charging stations out, I think that is number one, at least as far as importance. Number two is going to be, I guess you could say, walkthrough, or the process of completing the charge. So how is the app? Is it easy? Is it something that I can just click on and immediately know exactly what to do? Or is it the same when it comes to, let's say there's not an app, but it's just as far as plugging it in and working it through the actual charging station itself? Is it going to be very simple? And do I just click on a couple buttons and my car is starting to charge? So those are the types of things I think, as an electrical vehicle driver looking to quickly charge my vehicle at a charging station outside of my home, are going to be looking for. So if you can provide those services, I think that it's an awesome thing. Now it's time to just get as much information as I possibly can and just provide it to you guys, because I do think that this stock and this SPAC is going to be very important here in the future, especially with all these EVs, coming out into the United States. By at least a majority of them are trying to come out by 2022. So swinging on over here, it says EV charging company Chargepoint is nearing a deal to go public through a reverse merger that could value the company at more than $2 billion. And then it says Campbell, California-based Chargepoint raised $127 million just last month, bringing its total funding to $660 million from investors including AEP, BMW, Brammer Energy Ventures, Chevron, Daimler, Clear Vision, GIC, Lindsay Capital, sorry, and Quantum Energy Partners. A month ago, the firm valued at $1.37 billion, according to PitchBook. Chargepoint's network is one of the largest EV charging systems in the world, with 114,000 charging points in Europe and America. The company was founded in 2007. The acquiring entity is Switchback Energy, a special purpose acquisition company, SPAC, that raised $300 million in an IPO last year. Switchback's stock price and volume jumped higher on news. So obviously, we've been dealing with SPACs for quite some time now. And so now it's going to be interesting to see what that money that they've raised is going to start going towards. Is it going to start supplying more charging stations? Is it going to ramp up production in charging stations? What is that money going to go towards? So hopefully we find out. This is a quick article from Green Tech Media, and basically it talks about what they've used their money before in the past and what they intend to use the money for once they do the merger. So I'm going to swing over here, provide you that information. It says it has used that funding to build a leading position in the US. And so when they're talking about they're talking about Chargepoint, obviously. So it says it has used that funding to build a leading position in US and European EV charging markets, manufacturing charging stations, and providing software and services to manage charging operations and transactions at public charging sites. It has about 4,000 businesses and organizations using its charging systems, including Target and IKEA, and has deployed more than 115,000 public and private charging systems in the United States and Europe to date. So I do think that this company is well ahead in some of its competitors, like the likes of Blink. And the reason I say that is just because earlier in this video, I stated, two things that I feel are very important when it comes to charging stations. And they are just absolutely dominating number one. And that is at least getting out and getting their, charging stations out across, in this case, the world. They have 115,000 public and private charging systems. I think that's extremely important. As a person who would be driving an electrical vehicle, I wanted them to know where the charging stations are located. Just like I would want to know where a gas station is located. There's times where you're going to be running low and you're like, man, I need to get to a charging station and I need to get, energy. Those are the types of things that I think are extremely important. And if they're able to do that and provide a great service, obviously through, their software and things like that, I think that's only a plus. This next piece of information that I'm going to provide to you guys really kind of sets some perspective and puts some perspective on where charging stations are at. And obviously, where the EV market is at as far as needing charging stations. And this is going to come from the CEO of Chargepoint. So swinging on over here, it says Romano told CNBC that Chargepoint's prospects, differ significantly from those of EV manufacturers attempting to recreate the success of Tesla and compete against global automotive manufacturers. Instead, as all the existing automakers and the new automakers begin to transition to electrical vehicles, that all drives demand for us. And so basically that makes sense, and I think that is a major point. So like I said earlier, it's going to be a valuable asset. And I think that the more and more charging stations start to come out, you're going to really see competition ramp up. But I think as of right now, it doesn't, like he said, it doesn't really matter as far as what electrical vehicle it is. There's a good chance that these charging stations are going to be allowed to charge them. So continuing on, it says electrical vehicles made up of only 2.6% of global automotive and heavy-duty vehicle sales last year. But that share is set to grow by nearly 14% by 2030, according to Wood Mackenzie, driven by government, transportation, electrification mandates, and by increasing cost parity of EVs against internal combustion engine powered vehicles. That will drive a roughly tenfold increase by 2030 in the roughly 3.3 million EV chargers across US, Europe, and Asian markets. Woodmac predicts. Chargepoint reported a 2019 loss of $133 million on revenue of $147 million, while its 2020 projected revenue are expected to fall slightly to $135 million due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It projects 60% compound annual revenue growth through the next 7 years to exceed 2 billion by 2027. Before I provide you any information on the chart, I want one last piece of information to go to you guys, and that's going to be, well, Chargepoint's competition. So swinging on over here, it says Chargepoint does face competition in the EV charging field. In Europe, NG bought EVBox in 2017, BP bought ChargeMaster in 2018, and Royal Dutch Shell subsidiary Shell New Energies bought European charging network provider New Motion in 2017, and North American EV charging network startup Greenlots last year. US competitors include rivals such as EVgo, which owns the company's largest fast charging station network, and Electrify America network being deployed by Volkswagen under its Dieselgate settlement. You know, obviously, it can't list every single competitor. Obviously, Blink is out there, and then you have a ton of companies that are doing solar energy that are then providing it through a charging station. So there's obviously a ton of different types of competitors, but with, you know, obviously Chargepoint having 115,000 charging stations out there, that really kind of, you know, inserts them in as a leading competitor in my eyes. Now we have come to my favorite part of any video, and that is chart breaking down time. So let's swing on over here and check out SBE, Switchback Energy, also known as Chargepoint. So on Friday, it opened at $14.45. It got as high as $15.39. Its low is $14.36. Its volume was 2.842 million. Its market cap is 604.3 million. 52-week high is $16.45, its 52-week low is $9.38, and its average volume is 1.255 million. And it closed out Friday at $15.39. That was up 0.07%. Unfortunately, in the after hours, it went down 1.56%, wrapping out the week at $15.10. Now, this is a 1-month chart, but there really isn't a ton of information to gain from it just quite yet. Obviously, we are still early into this stage of this stock slash SPAC, and you know, they're really, once they start putting out a lot more information and a lot more positive catalyst, this stock is obviously going to start going in the, you know, right direction. On top of that, you know, as it seems to get closer and closer to dates when they decide to merge, that's when you start to see stocks really kind of go up in price, and a lot of people want to be a part of that, and so I think you'll start to see a true price for this once it gets closer and closer to the merger date. But I do think that this is a very important stock that's going to be, you know, a very important asset to the EV market. Charging stations are going to be very important, and you know, as a YouTuber, expect more videos to start coming out on these, you know, obviously types of stocks, because these are just going to be as important as the cars that are driving on the road. Because what's going to end up coming out is who provides the best software, who provides the quickest charge, who's going to be able to provide this, you know, all kinds of different things. And so it's very similar to the EV market. What do we like in, you know, certain electrical vehicles? What do we like about Tesla that we may not like about this one? What do we like about this vehicle versus it? I mean, there's tons and tons. So I think that as a YouTuber, this is going to be some information I'm going to continue to start providing, and I'm excited and I look forward to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, I do believe that these are going to be very important stocks, and this will not be the last video at all. I can promise you that on Chargepoint, no question. And you guys know how I do it. If you like this video, smash that like button. It helps out tremendously. And if you enjoy the content, because I'm going to keep the content flowing, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, have a good day.